roasting Def Noodles. I could never. Def Noodles is a you are not a comedian, you will never be. Def Noodles is a you are not a comedian, you will never be.
But you want to know what, Dennis? It's not funny. It's just not funny.
This is bad. This is really bad. It's worse than I thought it was gonna be.
I don't want to say it because I could be viewing him through tainted lenses, perhaps.
I started to notice some red flags, you might say. Since then, all of these red flags have not only been waved, but set on fire.
I'm bobbing so bad, and I don't give a fuck.
I thought it was gonna be light cringe, but this is no full body cringe. This is level 100 cringe.
You took a lot of time to edit this little video that frames you as the underdog, when actually it seems sort of just like a montage of people who had the right opinion. They accurately observed you not being funny, and you said, I'll show you not funny.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's because all of us did at one point. Maybe we didn't watch him for his comedy, but we all did watch him in a not negative way.
Baloney?
Hey there, y'all. It's your boy Trist, bringing you Sun and Bliss, while we end the career of a man named Dennis.
Yeah, guys, I know what we said. I know we said we don't want to talk about Def Noodles anymore, but then he just does something fucking stupid, and I'm like, why'd you say that?
I didn't just want to talk about the man's, like, for clout, like, not to be empathetic to Def Noodles, Dennis Fatoza, or anything like that, but more so just, like, you kind of know when someone's locked in the downward spiral. You kind of know when, like, this is just what they're going to be on, some bullshit for, like, a, unforeseeable amount of time. Like, do I really want to talk about that continuously? And listen, there are other channels that, this is their job, to report all this shit. And so, like, they gotta look into the abyss. Me, I want to casually enjoy the abyss as it gets closer, because we're already in a grand apocalypse anyway, right? So, why dedicate all my time to a raving maniac madman? His whole life's mission is now to convince the world that he's funny, or just to keep making you click out of hate. But with that said, I was listening to some of the different reporting on it, and it made me think about a few things that could actually help Dennis and his little fancy improv troupe, fake-ass comedy, Hunter and shit. Now, my big thing with them is just thinking about how he got here, how things have devolved so fast. Like, already he's shoving people, he's got people taking over his crowd, coming through and just dominating. He said pull up. It's only a while before he gets fully physical with people on his street fight with Cavill shit, and deludes himself into thinking that he can actually go and just beat the fuck out of people. It's only a matter of time before someone gets arrested or some wild shit really goes down at that motherfucking comedy club. Listen, if you're a white yuppie or white yuppie adjacent, you might not want to go by the third, fourth, or fifth comedy special, because if they're escalating in the same rate that we're seeing right now, at some point there's gonna be a mass fuckery event of epic proportions that go down over there. So be advised, if you go there, guard yourself, guard your own life. But it's just interesting thinking about everything that we've learned about Mr. Fatoza, Def Noodles, the people he surrounds himself with, his yes men, his brothers in arms in comedy, and also just thinking about the fact that, like, a lot of this started to really escalate the closer and closer he started trying to get to H3, and Ethan Klein. And I started noticing this the more he was going on his longer tirades with, Keemstar. And listen, there's nothing too redeemable to say about Keemstar and his band, the Commentary Bros. But the difference between, like, Ethan and his issues with Keemstar and the way they go back and forth and the way they both handle themselves, you don't get this kind of self-righteousness from Ethan to the degree that, like, Dennis would have. Like, Ethan was out here fucking a fucking Keemstar puppet. Like, he was very much also toxic in his reactions to Mr. Daniel Keene. But, you know, as much as they both hated each other, they both play into it. It's like a situation where you're like, all right, this person's way more in the right, this person's way more in the wrong. They're both handling it in wild ways, but like there's some like comparability there in the way that they're like going at each other. Of course, not saying all things Keemstar was doing was right. Again, I'm just saying there are comparable levels of like, all right, they do this, they do that, and it's the back and forth. And it's interesting thinking about motherfucking Dennis and his approach to it, which I don't know who else found these extremely annoying. These were like when I first started, like, because like I said, my roommate put me on to watching motherfucking Def Noodles. And there was a point where I was like, alright, I'm going to start clicking off. When I first started saying, I have no fucking interest in this, was his long ass 20, 30 plus minute videos, but basically nitpicking every nanosecond, micro cell, tiny bit of everything wrong with something Keemstar did in regards to him. Right? I think that was the beginning of the unraveling of Def Noodles. He'd make these long ass fucking videos that, like, yes, I'm like, sounds like you're in the right. Was there not a simpler, quicker way to say all these things? I digress. But then by the time you see that he ends up on H3H3 streaming awards, where basically they gave him, it's funny now thinking about it, gave him like an award for like best in news or drama, comedy or whatever. You have to go back and look at it. But thinking about how he's shunned the concept of him being a news station, how he's embraced or saying that he's always been first and foremost a comedian, and looking at the award he got from Ethan for that shit, and like was a special guest. They even trolled like they were bringing back Trisha for it, but no, it was Dennis. And seeing how, you know, all up to that time, he was basically campaigning for that spot. You know, you would see Ethan in way more thumbnails that he was putting up, and way more of what he had to comment was aligning himself with Ethan, and also, you know, of course, taking on their shared enemy, Keemstar. And you can say, look, you know, maybe he just, with full integrity, really agreed with Ethan and just wanted to make that known every time something came up. But I think studying Def Noodles' actions in the past month or two, I think we can all say, you know, safely, allegedly, that this man doesn't really move with the highest degree of integrity. It really isn't about what the actual state of the issue is, but more so how he can leverage that to his advantage, which is why you see he's prioritizing, you know, putting on these comedy shows to try and benefit off the hate and get hate clicks out of people and hate commentary that he can react to and just constantly funnel more content off of. It's why he's willing to sue his ex-assistant, Tiana, over her just doing a story time without even mentioning his name, and is surprised his employee no longer wants to work for him.
Literally look at these text messages from a week ago, whenever that Burning Man video went up.
I don't know about you, but if you basically seen how Dennis is, would you really want to spend a night with that man? Spend a day listening to him just talking your head off endlessly.
So I think it's just hard to listen to him talk.
It's one thing to have to do that as your job, as a thing you do for work. Would that really be something you would want to like just be doing? I wouldn't. I would have that Barry Man situation followed by this. It's no wonder she quit. Like,
You don't go to Burning Man without knowing what the fuck Burning Man is. He put in like Black Rock Desert and started driving. Like, he didn't do any research. They didn't even have a tent or anything to sleep in. He said they slept in the car. You and your female employee that looks like she's in her mid-20s slept in your car and you're her boss?
but him with all the money he has, suing his ex-employee, essentially for just telling her story, trying to silence, not necessarily a victim, maybe a victim of his bad skills as an employer, But definitely toxic workplace vibes.
This is not a businessman. This is a man who has zero control over the things that are happening, and he is putting every single person he encounters at this point in danger. And I'm glad Tiana got out. Like, all jokes aside, I'm really glad that she left, and I think more people are going to. And eventually he'll end up like super alone and be like, oopsie.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in legal trouble.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, I feel like he's essentially just suing her, or threatening to sue her, to keep her from going on like podcasts, keep her from being interviewed, to keep her from making any videos that truly do destroy him. Because, as you can tell, Dennis Fatoza really isn't the type of person you wouldn't want to have to interact with without being able to smoke and without being able to get up and leave the room whenever you felt like it was too much. You need the freedom to be able to take breaks from that man. It seems very much like the case.
Well, the thing is, he wants to be a businessman, but he doesn't want to adhere to the way that business is done. And you could be a cool boss, you can be all this and that, but when you have employees, like, you need to behave in a certain way.
But you have that situation. You have the situation with Salvo where, look, Salvo doesn't look like the type of person you'd want to spend too much time interacting with either.
So then we meet this individual named Salvo Pancakes, and holy shit, you guys.
Like, yeah, we've made videos talking about it, but he seemed genuinely passionate about
What made you feel like he was passionate?
Def Noodles.
Lily, was it when he burned the Brazilian flag and said that he was going to save the Brazilian people and send Dennis back to, like, the hut that he lived in?
I'm gonna make it my Friday night's mission and the rest of my life's mission to burn your brain from the inside out until you're on the ground screaming in peril because you're burning from the inside. That's what I want to do to you. But not only to you, to your people down in Brazil. I'm going to liberate them. I'm going to burn them. Like I'm gonna burn you. Salvo Pancakes will be seeing you Friday night, and I'm mean and I'm scary and I'm gonna hurt you.
Salvo Pancakes. Oh shit, here we go. And by the way, Def Noodles, you're a pussy. Let's go. Yo, let's get some fires in the chat.
You see this, Dennis? This is you. This is what you've become. Fuck Brazil and fuck you, Dennis.
However, Dennis, you are telling people to pull up or shut up. And it's funny, I get being annoyed with that man. And I get, especially being even more annoyed the way he had all the tickets, had a bunch of his fans come through, and like was just dictating and running your show better than y'all could. But shoving the man off the stage as soon as you come out, and then like hiding behind your security guards, not really the way to go. And it's also very telling that like this whole challenge Cavos to a fight situation isn't one you want to do on a fair one-on-one, you know, ooh, let's do a boxing match. Let's really promote off of the hate and like let's fight it out. Let's give the people a show. You don't really want to do that. You talking about you're willing to pay to fly all the way to UK as their queen lays dying, rotting.
We've arrived at Kavos challenging Def Noodles to a boxing match, and apparently Kavos lives in London. Kavos has challenged him, and Kavos is pretty transparent about it, saying, I can get a bigger fight than you, mate, but me and you would make a good storyline. Stop being a goon and fight me in the ring like a man. Which I will give him.
Okay.
At least he's honest about it. Dennis responds, go get your bag then. I'm not stopping you. As I said, if you want to fight me, this is how it's gonna happen. I don't need a boxing ring, a commission, a ref, or anyone to regulate a fight when my goal is to literally end your existence. Kavos responds and says that you have no interest in boxing on a big card, but would rather fly to England just so I can beat your ass. Makes no sense, pussy. And then Def responds, I have no interest in boxing you in the ring. You want to fight, this is my final offer. I will book a flight tomorrow, fly out within the week, and meet you at a mutually agreed street to murder you. He literally says to murder you. I'm reading that off a tweet that the Willie Mack show has tweeted saying Kavos trying to get on a boxing card against Dennis so they can both make money and be entertaining. Dennis instead threatens to murder Kavos. What the fuck, man? Kavos responded to him saying something and he goes, so you can't do that in a ring because you know you would lose? And Def Noodles says, I have literally offered to fly to your country to fight you within the week at a mutually agreed upon spot. If you want to fight me, that's the only way it's happening. Boxing is boring and not a real fight. Street fights with no gloves is where it's at. Take it or leave it.
He was willing to fly all the way to the UK to fight him in a street fight because, let's be serious, Dennis is not, again, allegedly, a man of integrity. He is the type of person who will bring his Phantom comedy troupe with him, his improv team, and then he'll let them step in and jump cabos while he does a couple kicks here and there. And it's like, what? It's a street fight. We agreed to a street fight. Anything goes in street fight. Dennis seems like that kind of person who goes by like that middle school logic of like, he said a street fight. He said he would do a street fight. Anything goes in street fight. Everyone knows that.
And I don't know when, in relation to when all these tweets were happening, but he also tweeted, survived Burning Man and heading back to LA to murder some YouTubers.
My favorite thing is the juxtaposition, big word, here we go, of him saying like, I'm a family channel, one you can watch with your kids, to him literally just being on social media like, kill yourself, I'm gonna murder you. Like, sir, what has happened?
But Ethan Klein, who I get why he's staying away from this situation, especially as he's in his, makeup tour, whether starting with Jeff Wittick and Tana Mojo or Mongu, however you say her name, and all that good shit. I feel like Ethan realizes without Trisha, he's built up a lot of enemies and he doesn't necessarily have a lot of friends that are really as ready to be on his defense the way Trisha was whenever she was an ally. And, he doesn't want to walk these YouTube streets always looking over his shoulder, always having people always hounding him and shit like that. He wants to be able to give the hate where he can give the hate and, things still be cool where they can still be cool. So, especially when he was going through his Ryan Kavanaugh shit and it looked like Keemstar might have been attached to that, he was probably really looking for an ally and really glad that someone like, Dennis, Def Noodles was also on the front lines calling out Keemstar at every turn. And Def Noodles probably was also not just looking for a brother in arms, but saw that he was looking for a brother in arms. And like I said, with all the extra thumbnails and everything like that, was looking to further ingratiate himself to the H3 audience. And you saw how he was on the show, all awkward and stuff like that, but just happy to be there, just happy to soak up the energy. And like I said, I think for him, that was a big time. If there's anything he's resentful for this whole arc and where it's taking it, is that he's kind of lost the support of the H3 fans, and he hasn't necessarily lost Ethan's support, but Ethan isn't really going to talk on his behalf, because then he'd also have to talk against him for all the wild fuck shit that he's also been kind of a part of and been promoting. So he's lost that connection. I think that's severing that last tie. And of course, not saying that his beef with Keemstar is fake. You truly don't need to fake beef with Keemstar. But more so that I feel like Ethan, when he invited Dennis on his streaming show for news or comedy, whatever segment it was, and funny enough, considering how Dennis says he's not really one of those tea or news channels, he just does that because that's what was profitable and everything like that, but he does it satirically, in which case he should probably give that award back. But it's funny seeing how Dennis was sitting there looking like a kid, happy to be there, not really much to actually say, not funny commentary to actually add, because, again, he's not funny. But he can't help that. But I don't think it was, again, as we've seen from these past few weeks, an issue of integrity, but more so because, again, Tiana, you don't sue an ex-employee just for recounting a bad trip that she took with you out of integrity. Especially when you know what her finances look like. And I hope someone like Keemstar or somebody opens up a GoFundMe for her to fight any potential lawsuit. But again, he's in his villain arc, so he can't even give himself the room and space to say, you know what? I know I'm playing it up right now, but it would be right to, look, if you truly had integrity, just do a quick statement. Tiana, I saw the video. I wish you called me, but to be honest, I am sorry. This, that, and the third. I could have been better at planning that shit out. I didn't want us sleeping in the desert. I didn't even think about how awkward that'd be for you as one, an employee, and two, as a woman. My fault for that. yeah, I fucked up. And, if you want to come on the show and talk about it, I'd like to invite you on the podcast. She might not accept it because she knows how you are, but that would have gone a long way to look good for you. But again, saying all that to say, this is probably not the man of the highest state of integrity. So, while Ethan, I'm sure, while he's in his hole, trying to put beefs behind him, he doesn't like the feeling of being alone with all the fucking trauma that and drama that has been started ever since it was just him and Trisha against the world. I'm sure Ethan was happy to have a fucking brother in arms, especially while he was going through the whole lawsuit with Ryan Kavanaugh and was thinking Keemstar was a part of it. But for motherfucking Def Noodles, while I'm sure it's much easier for him to talk about someone like Keemstar because of how much he hates him and how much that man comes from him and he has a whole lawsuit against him, he also saw it as a way to help himself basically win that lawsuit and basically take on a much larger audience by basically absorbing the H3H3 fans. And of course, once they saw how he was going about with his motherfucking roast and just how much he was spiraling out of control and everything with the Papa Gut situation, they quickly abandoned him because they have integrity, unlike whatever people he feels are his true ride or die.
We were in a group chat for the Def Noodles roast with Olivia from H3. What is our life? That gave me so much life. Anyway, we called it the Def Noodles support group because that's what I feel like this is at this point. It's just us just supporting each other through the cringe, through all of this madness.
I think the worst thing that keeps, Dennis locked in his worst behaviors is his little yes man phantom comedy troupe that he keeps around him.
This long, boring showcase of aspiring entertainers who don't seem totally aware of how much room they have for improvement.
Especially someone like fucking Steven, or as I call him to my roommate, the fake comedian version of Jamal Thomas. So Steven is quick to jump to Def Noodles' defense in any situation, no matter what. He always have a rationale that works in Dennis's favor. He never holds him accountable to anything. It's like that is his soldier to fight for till the end. And Dennis rewards him for that. With the lap dance he got him that essentially that got banned. We saw that. But I think his comedian friends that he surrounds himself with are some of the biggest contributors to his downfall. And they have every reason to be dick riders because, look, they've all supposedly been in comedy for either around a decade or over a decade. And this is the first time anyone's really, paying them any mind. When he's, fucking spirals his way into making a Friday night comedy special his bi-weekly routine. This is the thing that's giving them some elevation. We don't like their comedy, but it's still more eyes on them than they've ever had before. So I get why they're, being such simps for it. But I think if Dennis and the comedy troupe truly wanted to capitalize on all this, they mentioned they have a boy that's being interviewed by SNL.
Our fourth member Niles is auditioning for SNL right now, so we're wishing him a good luck.
Well, if his jokes were as poorly developed and overwritten as the ones you're about to do, you're gonna have to start looking for a new third member because SNL would have hired him right on the spot.
Pay me for this fucking advice if you start doing it. I called it, I said it here first if they start doing it. But what they really need to do is SNL type skits. In the back, while they're having technical difficulties up front, and in the back they're just smoking and drinking anyway. And that's probably why fucking Def Noodles came out and pushed the fuck out of Salvo the way he did. Because he was already probably fucking lit and out of his mind already. Beyond, just normal. But if he really wanted to capitalize on all this, and they wanted to really elevate their careers, just do a fake SNL. SNL's already cringe as fuck. So, how much worse would you be doing on the original format than what they're doing? And just put on skits. Smoke. Do even have a camera in the back while smoking. And y'all y'all act like y'all are just coming up with an idea just talking. And y'all come out and fucking perform the shit. I think there is way more potential of y'all being good at dumbass skits than y'all have at actually being able to tell stand-up or to roast each other. Especially like if y'all are hanging out and you're gonna roast each other, but you're pulling punches and not really roasting each other to any degree that like the audience will actually like, oh, like, you know, it's not funny enough as it is now. I think even if it means the internet drops off in attention because it actually starts getting good, there'll be people who stick around because it actually starts getting good. But I don't think it'll ever get good in the way it is set up now, where y'all are doing fucking weird roasts about eating mom's pussies and shit like that.
You found your jokes in the garbage?
Lean into your strengths. Like, I get it. It's not really his strength. We saw Dennis try to have Tiana and his other employee over there try to do skits with him. But clearly, he's willing to look into that side of things. So, you know, don't say I never did nothing for you, Dennis. Def Noodles is Comedy Phantom Troupe. Listen, get your acts together. You got time. Come together. Come up with some sketches. And do that. And then, as a guest appearance, even have, you know, any of your haters that come and want to do roast battles with you, have them join the sketch as an antagonistic force that y'all collectively roast together. Would it be kind of bullying, like all of y'all to like control the venue? Sure, but if you change the way the premise is set up, it could work in your favor. And then also, nepotism, yes, is bad, but since, you know, we are going to benefit from nepotism anyway, Dennis, your father, he has connections. He's a Warner Brothers exec, or at least was. I don't know what his current status is with that company while David Zaslav fucking takes an axe to that bitch. But if he's still with that company or wherever he's at, he still probably has like connections to the industry. Have those people come up and like try their hand at comedy. Have people who are probably worse comedians than you come up, try their hands at being funny, and then y'all can school them and like do a good humored roast. You know, tell your friends not to go too in because, you know, these are your daddy's friends. And make the most of that. I don't know. Like, this is what I do. I'm going to start making reviews on my channel. Like, for Rent, The Incredibles 2, motherfucking Miss Marvel. I'm going to start coming up with, like, on some Nando V movie shit, the better version, or possibly better version of what these movies could have been and these shows could have been if they had only turned a few things and, like, or thinking with a higher concept. Def, you have it within you to still turn it around. I get it. Like, I didn't even want to cover this because you're spiraling. You're spiraling. We all see it spiraling. It's funny, but it's also like how many times I'm gonna comment, yeah, he's still going down. He's still going down. But this is a chance to fucking rise back up and shock everybody. I'm not saying we're gonna be rooting for you or gonna like you afterwards. But there will be people who will be like, actually, this shit is funny now. This shit is not, and it's not funny in spite of y'all, but it's funny because of y'all. Or at least, like, we can see the potential of it getting there. So, Dennis, if you're watching this, you're welcome. Steven and the rest of the Phantom Troupe, if y'all are watching this, come up with some cool names based off the Hunter x Hunter characters, you know, and lean into those characters, especially during the skits. I want to see it. And everybody else watching, you know, like, subscribe, share, and root me on. Hopefully the editing is even a little bit better. Like, again, so the videos can be a little bit longer. But hopefully not too long. I don't want to fucking bore you like motherfucking Dennis is when he's talking about Keemstar. New things I'm trying. Wish me luck. Wish me the best. And let's all, again, share sun and bliss and peace and love and all this right here with your boy Trist. I'll see you guys later. Peace.